We are beginning tonight's Shiur in Siman Kuf Lamed Hey. We are up to Sif Yud, the last line on page 34. The Mechaber says in Sif Yud, Nagu likros kohen achar kohen behefsek Yisrael b'neihem. The Shulchan Aruch tells us the minhag is to call up one kohen after another kohen, as long as there's a Yisrael that is separating between them. V'omer hachazon kishekare lasheni. And when the second Kohen is called up, the Chazan says, Afal Pishu Kohen. He says, even though he's a Kohen, so we're acknowledging the fact that he is in fact a Kohen. V'kayotzi bazet nohagim b'levi achar levi. And similar to this, we are knowing to call up a Levi after another Levi, again with the hefsek of Yisrael between them. And you say, Afal Pishu Levi. The Ramah says, "V'lochein muter lalos gamkein lemaftir b'chi agavna," and so too a Kohen or a Levi can also be called up for the maftir for that same reason. In the same way, v'im korei maftir stam ein lochosh lipkomo, and if the maftir is called up stam, he's not being called up by name, then certainly you don't have to worry about any pagam. Taharei lo maskir shmo, because you're not mentioning his name. V'yesh omrim, and there are those who say, the ein likros Kohen o Levi leminyan shiva, that you can't call a Kohen and Levi like we just mentioned in the Mechaber, just as long as there's a Yisrael being mafsek between the two Kohanim or two Leviim, but rather you can't call a Kohen or Levi for the rest of the 7 aliyahs. After you started with a Kohen and a Levi, you must finish all 7 aliyahs before you call up another Kohen. But after you finish the minyan of 7, Yecholim likros Kohen or Levi, then you can call up another Kohen or Levi. And the Ramah ends off and says, "V'cheinu hagim medinos elu." That is our custom. Umiyah, however, b'mikom tzarich udechak. In the pressing situation, yesh lismoch asvar rishona. You can rely on the first sheet of the Mechaber. So we have here Machlokes, the Mechaber, and the Yesh Omrim in the Ramah. The Mechaber says you can call up a Kohen after another Kohen with the Yisrael being mafsik in between, and so too with a Levi. As long as when you call them up, you say Afal Pishu Kohen or Afal Pishu Levi. The Ramah brings the Yesh Omrim that says you cannot call a Kohen or Levi within the first 7 aliyahs, besides obviously the Kohen and Levi aliyahs. You can't add a new Kohen, a new Levi, till you finish all 7 aliyahs. But after you finish all 7 aliyahs, then you can call up a Kohen or Levi. And the Ramah ends off, that is our minhag. But b'makom tzarech, you can rely on the first shita. Says the Mishna Berura back on page 34, Sif Katan Lamed Aleph, the Hefsek Yisrael. You can call up a second Kohen after the first Kohen as long as there's a hefsek of Yisrael in between them. Pirish. It means to say, Shekora mitchila kol ha-seder ketakonos chachamim. It doesn't mean to say exactly as the Mechaber says. It sounds from the Mechaber you're calling up a Kohen, a Yisrael, and a Kohen. So the Mishna Berura is being masbir. That's not what he means. What he means is that you called first Kol HaSeder Ketakonos Chachamim. You went through the regular order that Chazal Misakin, Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. Oz Mutter Lachsor V'Likra Kohen. Then after you called up a Kohen, a Levi, and a Yisrael, you want to call up another Kohen, then you can call up another Kohen. V'hu adin di'im ein sham Levi, and the same thing would be true if there was no Levi in Shul. V'kara ha-Kohen pa'amayim v'achakach Yisrael. So you called up Kohen, the same Kohen, Yisrael, then you can go call up another Kohen. Nami muter lachzor v'likro Kohen. You could also go back in that case and call up another Kohen. V'chein muter likro sham Levi, and you could also call after the Kohen, Levi, in Yisrael. You can call up a Levi b'chol aliyos sheyirtzu, in any aliyah that you want. V'kol shekein la'achron u'lamaftir, and certainly for the last aliyah or for maftir. The hatam, and the reason is the leka lomechash kan lepkamo shel rishon bazeh. We're not worried about any pagam being said about the first Kohen now that you're calling up a second Kohen so much later in the laning. The have a pagum, because if the first Kohen was really a pagum, miyad hayu miranin and achrav, immediately people would start talking about what's going on. V'hayu modian oso lechazan, and they would have told the chazan of the gabbai right away, this guy's not a Kohen. V'hayu korin achar b'mikomo, and they would have called the second Kohen up right away. V'lo hayu mamtinin ad achar kriyas Yisrael. They wouldn't wait till you call up a Levi and then a Yisrael and then call another Kohen. So in terms of being concerned that you're calling a second Kohen, it doesn't look like a pagam of the first Kohen, that we're not concerned about because it's so much later. We assume it's not because of a pagam. V'lifgamo shel sheni nami lek l'mechash. Maybe we should be worried about a pagam of the second one because he's being called up for a Yisrael aliyah as a Kohen. So we're not worried about that as well. So lifgamo shel sheni nami lek lamecha sheyomru al hakohen or al levi shem chalolim, that maybe people will say this kohen or levi will get called up later. They're really chalolim, and that's why they're getting called up for a regular Yisrael aliyah. The ha'omrim afal pishu kohen v'chein balevi shu levi. Because since we're making an announcement when we call them up, afal pishu kohen or afal pishu levi, so we're clearly announcing this person is a kohen or a levi. So it comes out we're not worried about the pagam of the first kohen and we're not worried about the pagam of the second kohen, and therefore it says the Mishna Berura what the mechaber means. After you called up kohen, Levi, Yisrael, you can then go back and call another kohen. You can then go back and call another Levi. Sivkot and Lamed Beis. The Kayotze Bazen Nohagim. The mechaber ended off and said, similarly, we are noeg lagabe Levi achar Levi. Rotzalomra means to say afagav damrina b'siftes. Even though we learned yesterday in Siftes, the Levi achar Levi lo yikra, that you shouldn't call two Leviim in a row. Hach over here, Kevan shehifsik Yisrael b'intayim, since you have a break of a Yisrael in between them. V'gam omer afal pishu Levi. When you call up the second one, you say even though he is a Levi, leko shum chshasha. Once again, there is no chash, not on the first Levi, not on the second Levi. Kanal, like we just discussed by the Kohen. Sifkot and Lamed Gimel is going on the first point. The Ramah said, "V'lochein muter lalos gamkein lamaftir b'chei agavna." Therefore, you can also call up a Kohen or a Levi for a maftir. Rotzalomar sheyasker gamkein shu Kohen or Levi. What does it mean? You can call up a Kohen or a Levi also for maftir b'chei agavna like this. It means that you mention that he's a Kohen or a Levi. So as long as you mention that he's a Kohen or a Levi, that's going to be okay to call him up for maftir as well. Sivkot and Lamed Dalet is going on the Yesh Omrim that the Ramah brought down that argues with the Mechaber. And the Yesh Omrim says that you don't call another Kohen or Levi when you're within the first 7 aliyahs. You call Kohen, Levi, 5 Yisraelim, and only then you can go back and call another Kohen or a Levi. Says the Mishna Berura, V'hu adin afilu im yirtza laso seder chadash. This is talking even if you want to start a new round, a new order. Dahainu Kohen Levi Yisrael. After you did Kohen Levi Yisrael, you want to do another round of Kohen Levi Yisrael. Even that, Kam Kain Osir L'Shita Zo. According to the Shita, you can't even do that. Kevan Shehu B'Soch Shiva Kruim. Since it's within the first 7 aliyahs, it's not allowed. Kasva poskim, the poskim right, the betainis lo yala Kohen or Levi lamaftir. Even though we just said in the Ramah that a Kohen or Levi can be called up a maftir, that's on a Shabbos or Yontif, not on a fast day. Then a Kohen or Levi can't be called up for the maftir. Why? Shu miminyan akruin, because the maftir on a fast day, as we know, is one of the 3 aliyahs. Sham maftir hu ashlishi. The maftir is the 3rd aliyah. And if there is no Yisrael in the tzibur that knows how to read the Haftorah, makrun acherim oso. You still call up a Yisrael and we read it to him. But you absolutely cannot call up a Kohen or a Levi for shlishi, even though that is the maftir. Sivkatan lamin hei laminyan shiva. Again, the shita of the Yesh Omer the Ramah brings down is you cannot call up a Kohen or Levi for any aliyah after the first 2 in the minyan of the first 7. The same that applies by Yontif. You have to wait till you finish a complete 5 aliyos. If there was a mistake and they called up a Kohen or a Levi in the middle of the 7 or middle of the 5, so if you can swap him out and have him really get the aliyah of maftir or achron, seyamtin bateva, you should wait by the bima, v'yikru acher b'mikomo, and he should call someone else in his place, v'hu yala la'achron or maftir, and he should get the appropriate aliyah for a Kohen or Levi, which would be achron or maftir. V'im efshar, but if there's no way to do that, kevan sha'ola lo yered. Once he went up for the aliyah, you don't make him sit down. V'yavarech, he can make the bracha. U'kemoshe mesayim haRamah, and that's like the Ramah ends off and says, to be mekom tzorech u'dechak, in a time of need or a pressing situation, yesh lismoch asvar rishona. In that case, you can rely on the first shita of the Mechaber, that as long as there was a Yisrael being mafsik, you had Kohen Levi Yisrael, and then you called up another Kohen or another Levi, that it would be okay. Sevkotan lamed vav v'cheinu hagim. The Ramah said this is our minhag, like the second shita, that we do not call up another Kohen or Levi during the first 7 aliyahs on Shabbos or the first 5 aliyahs on Yontif. Uba levush kasav. The levush writes, the kayom nowadays, afilu la'achar shiva kruim ein anu nohagim likrosam. Even after the first 7 aliyahs, we are still not knowing to call them up. Elo la'achron shebehem v'chein l'maftir. We only call up, says the levush, a Kohen or a Levi after their first aliyah for the final aliyah, which is achron and for maftir. V'chein he'etiku sharei achronim, and that's how the achronim bring it down as well. The Hatam Isa Balavush, and Lavush explains the reason. The Lo Chayshinan Ba'achron L'Pgam. There's absolutely no concern when it's the last aliyah of the regular laning for a pigam if it's after the 7. Ki adarabba, the opposite is true. Badoros halalu, in these generations, Mechashvin Achron Choshev Mikulam. We view the last aliyah as the most choshev of all of them. Lefishu Mesayma Parsha, because you're finishing up the end of the Parsha. Ulegodol shebatzibur koren la'achron, and they give the greatest one in the tzibur the last aliyah. So if you give that aliyah to a kohen or levi, we're not worried about a pagam. The afal pisha koren la'achron hamaftir, and even though after the achron, which is finishing the parsha, we then call up a maftir, that's not a problem either, because harei mafsikin beino ubein maftir b'kaddish. After all, there will be a kaddish separating between the last aliyah and the maftir, and therefore to call them up for the last aliyah or for the maftir would both be fine. The gambe maftir ein makbidin mu kohen. Also for maftir, we're not makbid if he's a kohen. The havik itchilas kriya ukilachameh. That's like a new kriya, like we're going to see soon. The afilu im haachron hoyagam kein kohen ein choshishim mishum kohen achar kohen. Even if the aliyah of achron, which is the last aliyah in the regular laning, was given to a kohen, and now you're giving maftir as well to another kohen, that is not a concern of kohen achar kohen. Kevan she'akadish mafzik beinayim. Since after all you had kaddish in between them, that's a separation. That's going to be fine. Ad kan lashon halavush. Till here is the language of the lavush. Continues the Mishna Berura, umikom makom b'mekom tzorech. Still, in a time of need, kegon sheyesh shnei chasonim v'shushbinim. There are 2 chasanim in shul, and they have all their helpers. Ulakol echad mehen yesh kohanim leviim, and each family has their kohanim and leviim. So then cholkem es aparshel l'shnayim. You could split the laning in 2. Mitchila korin zayin gavri leechad. You'll first call up 7 aliyahs for one chasan. V'achar kach korin lechasan hasheni v'shushbinav, and then you'll call up a whole cheshbon for the second chasan and his helpers as well. Kasvu ha'achronim, the achronim write, the b'simchas Torah shemotzian shlosha sifrei Torah. On Simchas Torah, as we know, we take out 3 sifrei Torah. Yecholin lios shlosha kohanim, you can have 3 kohanim getting aliyos in a row. Echad chasan Torah, 1 the last aliyah in Zos HaBracha, which is called chasan Torah. The echad chasan Bereshis, the first aliyah in Bereshis. The echad maftir. Why is that allowed? Kevan shekol echad korei b'sefer acher. Since each of these 3 aliyahs are from a different sefer Torah, we could have 3 kohanim being called up in a row. Avol, however, says the Mishna Berura, b'rosh chodesh teves shechal b'Shabbos. Rosh chodesh teves, which is Chanukah, falls on Shabbos. So you have Shabbos, Rosh chodesh, Chanukah. Sheyesh gam kein shlosha svarim. There also you have 3 sefer Torah. Oz b'sefer harishon shekorim bo parshas hashavua. There, by Shabbos, Rosh chodesh, Chanukah, by the first sefer Torah, where you're reading the regular parsha of the week, ein likros la kohen lebasof. There you cannot call a Yisrael for a kohen rather for the last aliyah. Af im hosifu v'karbo yoser mishiva. Even though you're beyond the 7, and this is really the last aliyah in the sefer Torah, you can't call up a kohen. Lefi shadayin ein mashlimin hakriya b'sefer hazeh. Because this sefer is not finishing up the kriya. The kriya of that Shabbos does not end with the laning of the parsha of the week. V'hamashlim hu b'sefer hasheni. The one who's really being mashlim the kriya, the one who will be called the achron, is the one who's finishing up in the second sefer Torah. Shekoren bo parshas rosh chodesh. So the first sefer Torah, he's saying a chiluk. When it comes to Simchas Torah, all 3 aliyahs, Sefer Torah 1, Sefer Torah 2, Sefer Torah 3, Chasan Torah, Chasan Bereshis, Maftir can all be Kohanim. When it comes to Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, by the regular Parsha, the last Aliyah cannot be a Kohen. By the Rosh Chodesh, by the Chanukah, those 2 can be Kohanim. And the reason he's explaining is that the Chiyuv of Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh is both Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh. You must read both of them, and therefore the last Aliyah of the Chiyuv is really the laning of the Rosh Chodesh, which is the second Sefer Torah. So you can't call up a Kohen by the end of the first Sefer Torah. Mash Enkein Simchas Torah, the Iker Kriya is just Zos HaBracha. And therefore the last Aliyah is the Chassid Torah, and therefore you could have 3 by Simchas Torah, but you can only have 2 by Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, as he continues in the last line. Rak ba Sefer Hasheni Shabo Mashlim Ha'achron. Only by the second Sefer Torah, when you're laning the Parsha of Rosh Chodesh, and that's where the Achron is being Mashlim, you can call a Kohen. U'besefer Shel Achrav Shekom B'Shel Chanukah. And also the next Sefer Torah, the third one, where we are calling up the maftir with the laning of Chanukah, Rashoim Likros La Kohen Lios Achron Vegam Kohen Lamaftir. There you can call up two Kohanim, one for Achron, which is the laning of Rosh Chodesh and Sefer Torah number 2, and one is for the maftir, which is the laning of Chanukah and Sefer Torah number 3. But Sefer Torah number 1 on Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Chanukah, you cannot call up a Kohen for the last Aliyah. That's not considered the last Aliyah of the laning. V'chein b'Shabbos shel Parshas Shkolim o shel Parshas HaChodesh. So too when Rosh Chodesh Adar or Rosh Chodesh Nisan fall on Shabbos, in which case you have Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Shkolim or Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Parshas HaChodesh. Shechal b'Rosh Chodesh sheyesh gam kein shlosh svarim. In those cases you also have 3 Sefer Torah, the regular Parsha Rosh Chodesh at either Shkolim or HaChodesh. Same thing over there. Ein likros kohen lahashlim akriya b'sefer harishon. You cannot call a kohen to end the first laning in the first sefer Torah. Rak b'shnei svarim hachronim, only in the second 2 sefer Torah. Rashoim likros kohanim la'achron u'lamaftir. Then you can call kohanim for Achron, which is the Rosh Chodesh laning, and for Maftir, which is either Parshas Shkolim or Parshas HaChodesh. K'moshe kasafti, like I wrote. That's from the Shari Ephraim. V'ayin sham bepiskei sha'orim ha'shehevi od b'shem ha'primigodim. Look what he writes over there, b'shem ha'primigodim, le'inil chalamoyed shel Pesach, v'tama alav. Says the Mishna Berura of Kadon Lamazayin. The Ramah ended off and said, "B'makom tzarech u'dechak." You could rely on the sheet of the Mechaber. Even though the Ramah really holds you can't call up a Kohen again or Levi again until after you finish the 7 Kruim. But the Mechaber said that after you read Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, you can go back and call up another Kohen or another Levi as long as you say Afal Pishu Kohen or Afal Pishu Levi. So the Ramah says our minhag is like the Yesh Omrim in the Ramah, but the Makom Tzarech Udechak you can rely on the Mechaber. Kigom b'Simchas Torah kiagavna, like Simchas Torah or something similar, then yesh lismoch, then you could rely on the shita. Dimiyot shekara shlosha kruim harishonim. Once you call the first 3 aliyahs, Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, mutter likros achar kach Kohen or Levi. Then you can go back and you can call a Kohen or a Levi. Like I explained earlier, this shita of the Mechaber. V'day you should know that afilu im nismoch asvar rishona, even if you're going to rely on this first shita of the Mechaber. Mikomokom yesh harbe rishonim v'achronim shesovrim. There are many rishonim and achronim who hold she'ein lahakel likros Kohen v'Levi ba'alma. You can't stam call up after Kohen, Levi, Yisrael another Kohen or another Levi stam. Ela im kein yasu seder chadash, unless you make another new order. Tahainu Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. Even according to the first shita, Zata Mishna Berura, many Rishonim and Achronim hold the that mahalach of the Mechaber, that after Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael, you can call up another Kohen or Levi. It's only if after Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael, you go another round of Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. The bazeh in lochosh lepgama klal. Then we're absolutely not worried about a pgam at all. Sheyomru alav she'ein a Kohen, that they're going to say he's not a Kohen. Sharei Kohen achar of Levi. After all, after this Kohen, you're calling up a Levi, so it's clear that he is a Kohen. Ava below seder ein likro Kohen or Levi mishum pgama. However, if you're not going to do another order of Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, just to call up a Kohen or a Levi, that you should not do. Ulefi sarazu, according to this, afilu la'achron ulamaftir ein likro Kohen v'Levi. According to this, that there's a hakbada tafka Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, then that would be against what we said before. Even for achron and maftir, you wouldn't be able to call up a Kohen or a Levi because you would be lacking in the new order of Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. Elo shabazek var nagu holam lahakel. But Lamaisa, the minhag already is to be lenient to call up for the achron of the maftir to a Kohen or a Levi. That's our minhag. But according to what Harbe Rishonim and Achronim are saying, really that wouldn't be acceptable. But Lamaisa, that's what we are knowing. V'chein sasmu ha'achronim, and that's how the achronim are sosim. Ukemoshe kosav ha'levush b'tamo shadavar kanal, like the levush mentioned, the reason, like we said earlier. V'al kain, and therefore, min ha'nochon lizar bazel l'krosam dafka ala seder. One should be careful if you want to call up another Kohen, to bedafka call up another order of Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. V'afilu kishekorin osam la'achar shiva kruim. Even if it's after a full 7 aliyahs, and you want to call up another Kohen, you should be mak with the call up Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, all 3 in the proper order. Says the Mechaber Vayter Siv Yud Aleph. Yesh Misha Omer, there is a shita that says, She'im kara hachazon Kohen o Levi ve'eno sham. So the Gabbai calls up a Kohen or a Levi, and he's not there. So lo yikra la'acher b'shem. You should not call up another Kohen or Levi by their name. Mishum pigamo sharishon. If you called up Ruvain as a Kohen, he wasn't there. Now you call up Shimon as a Kohen. So it looks like you changed your mind about Ruvain because it was a pagam. Elo acher yala me'atzmo. Rather, another Kohen should go up on his own. You could motion to him, but you don't call him up for the aliyah. The Ramah says v'chein nohogu, and that is our minhag. Shliat tzibur shu Kohen yochol likro Kohen acher la Torah. A shliat tzibur that is himself a Kohen is able to call up another Kohen to the Torah. We're not worried that it makes the one who's doing the calling like a pagam, like we have over here. Our Gabbai is a Kohen. The fact that he calls up another Kohen doesn't make him look like he's a pagam, that he's not a Kohen, because we understand that's his role. His role is to call up the aliyahs. So even though he's a Kohen calling up someone else, Dr. Ramah, that's not a problem. Says the Mishna Berura if Katan Lamed Ches, Kohen or Levi. Again, the Mechaber told us that Kohen or Levi gets called up and he's not there, don't call up someone else by his name. Aval b'Yisrael in kara'uhu ve'eno sham. Masha'enkin, if you call up Yisrael and you realize he's not there, yachol likros la'acher b'shmo. You can, yes, call up another Yisrael by his name. To be Yisrael lo shaya pegama. There's absolutely no concern of a pegam by Yisrael, because in a worst case scenario, he's a mamzer. Ta'afilu mamzer muter lalos la Torah. So what's the problem? Even if you call him up and he's a mamzer, he still gets that aliyah. So there's no reason to stop it. So if he's not there, there's no reason not to call someone else up by shame. It's not going to be like you're making him look bad, because what's the worst that you can make him seem like a mamzer? But he can still go up. A mamzer gets an aliyah also. So there's absolutely no chash by calling up a new Yisrael by his name when the first one wasn't there. Like we'll see later in Siman Reish Pei Bais Siv Gimel. Siv Katan Lamites, again you called up a Kohen or a Levi, ve'eno sham, and he's not there. V'im osa Kohen mispalel. Let's say he's not there. He is there, but he's in the middle of Shemon Esrei. So then, mutter likros ha'acher b'shem. Then when you call up the other Kohen or Levi, you don't want to wait for him. It's a tircha l'tzibura. You call up another Kohen or Levi. You can, yes, call them up by their names in that case. The ha'kol roin. Everyone sees. Shebishvil she'enu yachol lahavsik b'tefillah ein ola. No one's going to say he's a pagam. Everyone sees he's in the middle of Shemon Esrei, so they're going to assume he's not going up because he's in the middle of Shemon Esrei. Therefore, you can't call up the other Kohen or Levi by their name. There is absolutely no chasha pagam. Sivkot and men, but again, if he's not in shul, to call someone else up as shame will be a problem of pagamo. The yizberu shenoda b'sol kaf. People are going to think that it became known in the interim shul pagum that he's a apostle of Kohen. V'kasu achronim, the achronim right. The mikol makom b'no muter likros b'shem. This is a geschmacka point over here. Zakta Mishna Berura, the Achronim write, if he's not in shul, but his son is in shul, you can call up his son by his name. Why? Because if the Kohen who's not there is really a pagum, so af beno pagum, then his son is also a pagum. So anyone who's a chalal or a mamzer, his kid is also a chalal or a mamzer. So if the guy's not there when you call him up for aliyah for Kohen or Levi, and his son is there, when you call up his son, it's 100% fine. Fakir, that's even better. Calling up his son, you're showing that he's good and his father's good, and that would be 100% fine to call his son up by his name. Aval oviv aser, but if his father's there, that would be forbidden to call his father up by his name. The yomru oviv nasa grusha mikfar, because they might say his father, who's getting called up now, married a grusha. Shaha'av kosher v'haben chalal. We know when a Kohen marries a grusha, he creates chalalim in his children, but he doesn't become a chalal. So if the son's not there when you called him up, and now you call up the father, they're going to think, oh, the father is really a Kohen who married a grusha, his son is a chalal. That's why they changed their minds from giving the son aliyah to giving the father aliyah, because even though he married a grusha, he doesn't become a chalal, he's allowed to get the aliyah. But obviously we need to add in note number 50, which we learned already. It's only assuming that he already divorced his wife that was a grusha, and that he made a neder al das rabbim that he'll never marry a woman that's usher to him. Otherwise, once a Kohen marries a grusha, we learned earlier, you can't get an aliyah. But this point of Mishna Berura is saying very geschmack. If you call a guy up for an aliyah of Kohen, and he's not in shul, you can't call anyone else up as shame. It makes him look bad. But if his son is in shul, you can call up his son, fakert, it makes him look good. If his son is kosher, the father's kosher. But you can't call up the one who's missing's father, because that's not any raya that he's kosher, because maybe his father's kosher. Because maybe at one point in his life he married a grusha, had this son who's not there in shul now. He's a chalal. The father did tshuva, divorced the grusha, made a neder al das rabbim, will never marry another isha that's usher to him, and therefore he is allowed to get the aliyah, so he would be included in those that you're not allowed to call up b'shem, because it makes this Kohen who wasn't there look like he's a pagum. Sivkatan mem aleph, the Ramah said, since you can't call him up by his name, he goes up by himself. Kosav b'sefer Shari Ephraim. Di'im karu la kohen o la levi la achron o la maftir ve'eno sham. Till now we're discussing you call him up for the first aliyah as kohen or the second aliyah as levi. But let's go back to what we discussed in the last sif. Sometimes you're allowed to call up a kohen or a levi for achron or maftir. Let's say that's the case. You call up the kohen or the levi and he's not in shul, but he was called up for the achron or the maftir. V'korei la acher. If you called up a kohen or levi for achron or maftir and he's not there, and you call someone else, afal pi sha'acher hu gam ken kohen or levi mutter lekrosa b'shem. Even if this new person that you're telling to go up for the aliyah is a kohen or levi, you are, yes, allowed to call him by his name. To lo shayach kan lomar de noda sharishon pagum. Here it's not shayach to say that you're calling a different person because he's a pagum. Why? To Yisrael gam ken mutter lalos la'achron or lamaftir. Because let's say he was a pagum. What's the worst? That he's Yisrael. Or is a mamzer who's Yisrael, so he's allowed to get the aliyah anyway. You wouldn't switch from one coin to another coin by maftir because of a pagam, because there's no pagam that passes in from maftir. So Zakta Mishna Berura, this whole halacha that we're discussing in the Mechaber is for the kohen aliyah or the levi aliyah. When it comes to achron and maftir, which is up for grabs for anyone can get it, so you would never change from a kohen because he was a pagam to call another kohen. Therefore, you would be able to, in that case, call the second kohen even by his name. Sivkatan Mem Bais. This is going to Ramah's last point that says that a tzibur who's a kohen can call up another kohen for an aliyah. We're not worried about it looking like a pagam in the one who's calling up the other kohen. Sha'kol yodim, everyone knows. Shekevan shu shleat tzibur, since he's a shleat tzibur, ein svara lomar sheyidcha kol kohanim malalos. We're not going to push off. He's not going to push away all other kohanim from going up. The lo mipnei shu pagum, it has nothing to do with him being pagum, the fact that he's calling up other kohanim. Va'afilu im haskanu kohen. Even if it's not the shel tzibur calling up, but it's the skan who's in charge of the shul and he gives out the aliyahs. He's a kohen. Shebiyado likros l'chol mi sheyirtza, he can call up whoever he wants, he can do whatever he wants. O b'makom shekonim mitzvos aliyos, or in a place where they sell the aliyos. La Torah, the Konei HaMitzvos Hu Kohen Levi. Let's say there's an auction of all the aliyahs, or even the Kohen aliyah, and a Kohen buys either all the aliyahs or the Kohen aliyah. Yachol etzavos likros the Kohen Levi acher. He's allowed to give the aliyah that he bought to another Kohen or another Levi. Ve'ein bazem mishum pekam. There's no chash of pekam over there. Shakol yodim shaderechu lechabed acherim. Everyone knows by an auction you buy an aliyah, you mechabed someone else. The fact that the Kohen bought it and gives it over to another Kohen, it's not because he just chapped that he's a pogum. It's because he's a tzaddik. He bought it for someone else, so he's a kosher. That would be 100% fine. We will stop here and continue Mitzvah Hashem next time with Sif Yud Beis.